Happy New Year. It's 2021 and we're embarking on a brand new year. Hopefully one that's different than 2020. I think most of us can agree that there were highs and lows last year, but I think most of us are hoping that 2021 returns us on a course to maybe what we would call normalcy. But you know, the new year is a time where many of us create New Year's resolutions. I know I did. And you know, if you talk to most people about what those resolutions are, a lot of times they're fairly common things, aren't they? It's, I want to lose some weight. I'm going to exercise more. I'm going to start reading my Bible daily. You know, I've sort of fallen away from that. I'm going to spend less time on social media. I just need to not spend all of my time, staring at my phone and being present in the moment a higher percentage of the time. And these are all good goals, good resolutions to make. But here's a resolution that I bet you haven't really considered making that I would encourage you to try. Focus on my marriage in 2021. Focus on my marriage. Now, some of you are going to hear this and you're going to ask a couple of questions. First, you may say, well, why would I need to do that? Our marriage is good. We're fine. I've got other things to focus on. I got to focus on my career. I got to focus on my kids. I'm busy. Our marriage is okay. It's kind of on the back burner for now. I'll get back to that someday. I'll talk about that just for a couple of minutes. But I can assure you there's reason that you'll see to focus on your marriage. But the second question some of you will ask is, well, that sounds good, but how exactly do I do that? How do I focus on my marriage? And I'll talk very briefly about that as well. All right? So let's start with, why should you focus on your marriage? I believe as Christians, we're called to focus on our marriage because it's important to do so. You see, in my mind, we have various relationships in life, right? Everywhere we turn, we have relationships. But they typically boil down to two distinct categories of relationships, if you will. We've got what I would call vertical relationships, and these have some form of hierarchy associated with them. Okay, it could be, as an example, a boss and subordinate, right? Where the boss gives direction and you sort of follow suit. It could be a coach and team members. The coach is setting the direction, the team members are executing the plan. In a hierarchical relationship, you clearly have sort of one person over the other, sort of a superior and subordinate type of relationship. Now, of these, I firmly believe that the most important hierarchical relationship that we have in our lives is between God and ourselves. I mean, think about it. God is all-knowing, all-powerful, omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, right? Clearly, He's superior to us. He provides us with direction and guidance that we attempt to follow. So there's nobody else worthy of that sort of leadership. So it just makes sense that we would follow God in terms of that, and that would be our most important vertical relationship. But then I think we also have what I would call horizontal relationships. And as opposed to the hierarchy that exists within vertical relationship, a horizontal relationship typically exists among peers. And I think as we look at that, we could say friends or horizontal relationships, co-workers, siblings, right? These are all people that we're on a par with, that we still have relationship with. There's not one over the other. There's not one demanding of the other. It's just a relationship among equals. And there, I think the most important relationship that exists horizontally is between a husband and wife. Why do I say that? I say that primarily because we know from the Bible that marriage is God's representation of the relationship between Christ and the church. Did you think about that before? Marriage is God's representation of demonstrating the relationship that should be there between Christ and the church. It's interesting because if you think about it, the Bible actually starts with a marriage way back in Genesis with Adam and Eve. And if you go all the way to the other end of the Bible, to the book of Revelation, we see that when there's a new heaven and a new earth coming about, that we see Jesus ready to come down and join the people on earth, and he's doing so in a form, and it says the Lamb is ready to join his bride and be united. And it's a beautiful thing, and it's a picture of a forthcoming wedding that's about to take place. So as we see this relationship between Christ and the church, our relationship with our spouse should reflect that. If one is a representation of the other, they should be very similar in many ways, shouldn't they? It only makes sense. So one way to think about this is, if you want to love your spouse more, love Christ more. If you want to love Christ more, love your spouse more. It's hopefully that in and of itself is a good reason to say, wow, I really should focus on my marriage. And a lot of us have spent time focusing on, I want to grow deeper in my faith. I want to go deeper in my Bible knowledge. I want to grow deeper in my prayer life. But a key part of that can be growing closer to your spouse because of this representation it has between Christ and the church. So hopefully that gives you some motivation to say, yeah, you're right, I should do that. So the second question then becomes, well, I get that why I should, but what do I do? I mean, practically speaking, what can I do? Well, I've got a few thoughts there. First, you know what? We've got our Facebook group called Shocking Marriage, and it's a tremendous group where people come together and they share life and they share experiences and they share advice, they share stories about what has worked in their marriage. And you know what? Time after time when we ask these questions and people share, we get feedback from people who've been married less time saying, wow, I've learned so much from hearing these. You've given me advice and suggestions on things that I want to apply. And that's what it's about. So we can learn from others. And the Shocking Marriage Facebook page is a tremendous place to go to benefit from that. Secondly, in this coming year, we're going to be launching some premium opportunities within the Facebook page for our group. Where you and your spouse can sign up and take like an online coaching course that will last for several weeks, and it will give you activities to do and assignments and guide you through discussions and questions and things that will naturally sort of bring you closer together and help you to discuss and discover things that maybe you didn't know, maybe you've been struggling with. But it's a way that, like having a coach in your pocket that can work with you on your specific things and help you to take your marriage to another level. So that's a tremendous place. You know what? There's a couple of books that I've had a chance to write, and I know that many couples have been blessed by reading these. We've got the book Beyond the Celebration, which is written for engaged couples or pre-engaged couples, and it just kind of runs through the questions that are in couples' minds or that they should be asking. How can they get married and form a covenant with God? How do they know that this person is the right person for them? How do they know this is the right timing for them? How can they discover these things? How can they discover issues that might blow up later and resolve them before they ever get bad? So that book is Beyond the Celebration, and I recommend it. But the second book is called Shocking Marriage, and it's a book for any couple. And if you've not had a chance to read this, I encourage you to do so. Again, it just provides you with a framework where you and your spouse can work through topic by topic together and come up with some proactive plans so that when you get faced with a tough situation, you have a roadmap to follow. You don't have to try to invent or design the plane while it's in the air. You can sort of have a path that you've already laid out that you can take down. And it can help you with fighting fair. It can help you with minimizing disagreements. It can help you with dealing with grief. It can help you improve communication. There's also proactive elements to it in terms of how to keep the spark alive, how to improve intimacy. All these things are in there. So again, these are books that have been compiled from stories of talking to hundreds of couples and sort of bringing best practices together. And I strongly encourage both of those. And then finally, within our Facebook group, we will continue to interview experts and people around. When you see a notice for these, try to catch them live so that you can ask questions. But even if you can't catch them live, the replays are always posted within the group. And I'm telling you, some of the insights so far from some of the people we've talked to, authors and counselors, have been just tremendous. So I encourage you to watch out for those. Thanks for being a part of the Shocking Marriage Facebook group. You know what? I'm thrilled to have you as a member. I want to make 2021 our best year yet. I mean, our group is growing. Invite your friends. If you know people that can benefit from just this sort of pro-marriage positivity and advice and counsel and discussion, please invite them. You know, if you know somebody can be blessed by this, don't hold out. Let's get them here, because again, my prayer is that they would be blessed by what we offer and by what you bring to the group. And be active in the group. Participate when questions are asked. Answer. If you have questions, ask the questions. Start your own discussions. We can do all of that in this. This is a place that we want to be that's safe for discussion, where you can have conversations, where you can get advice, where you can share thoughts, and that we will all benefit from having done so together. Thanks so much. I want to make 2021 a great year, and I want to help you to make it the best year yet for your marriage. Thanks so much.